Welcome back, sci-fi fans, to the Science Fictionary podcast. I am Andrew, and I'm here with Marisha, which is weird for a change. You know, she's here, and then Iana's here. One of the Padawans. We're going to be seeing more of her and her sister, and maybe one day her brother, if he ever gets past the idea of sitting in front of a camera. He needs like somewhere off camera where he can sit and just talk.
Say weird stuff.
I mean, he would talk your ear off. He just does not want to sit in front of a camera.
It's
He's
true.
allergic. Yeah, I don't blame him. Like I've talked about on here. Like this is every time I get ready to hit play on this, I want to jump up and run away from the camera. I tell people I became a photographer so I could stand behind the camera.
It's true.
And here I am in front of one.
Yeah, like at our wedding, I spent the whole time going, smile, smile.
That didn't happen.
I did so. I literally said, "Hey, love, you're happy. Why don't
Making
you
stuff
smile
up.
at the camera?"
Just making stuff up.
Not making stuff up. I have witnesses.
Like who?
I'm sure I could drag some up.
All right, so we got a few things we're going to talk about here today, but Iana is specifically joining us because she watched Ironheart with me. First 3 episodes, we're going to talk about that one. We have talked about it a little bit. I try not when we're going to talk about it on here. I try not to go too deep into conversation before we get here. As someone once told me, don't do the show before you do the show, which is kind of hard when you live with the people you do the show with. But we're gonna talk about it here. So I know not a lot of people are watching it. Hopefully, some of you are watching it and care to hear us talk about it, and maybe you care to hear us talk about it even if you're not. But let's see. So, just first thoughts. Everybody's first thoughts on Ironheart. If y'all don't want to go first, I'll go first.
I'll go first.
Okay.
Okay. It was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. And I've actually enjoyed watching it, which is a lot more than I expected.
It was, yeah, I mean, I expected it to be absolutely the most abysmal thing that the MCU had ever created. It's not. I'll still watch this over Eternals. But that being said, unless I'm forgetting one, I'm still going to, for now, put it at, well, even for now, I'm only going to put it like, I'm going to put it one space above the bottom of MCU TV series. Because despite the fact that it was more enjoyable to watch than I had any anticipation of it being, and keep in mind, that is not me saying this is like some like amazing, fantastic series. I put Secret Invasion at the very, very bottom of the MCU on Disney Plus.
It was bad.
It wasn't just kind of bad.
It was really bad.
Like they should just do away with that one forever.
Be like, never mind.
Yeah.
It went away. Poof.
What about you? Just your initial.
I mean, I'm kind of with Iana. I really, I don't know. Maybe I think maybe I'm among the ranks of people who are a little disenchanted with a lot of things happening, just Disney in general. You know, Star Wars, Marvel. I've become, like when all this stuff started coming out, we watched it as soon as it dropped. But it's like, okay, whatever. I mean, I'll watch it. I wasn't really optimistic about it. And I have honestly not been optimistic about several. I was really not optimistic about Hawkeye, which I really enjoyed. So it was one that I
You weren't optimistic about Hawkeye back when. I mean, that's been out for a couple of years now.
No. I really wasn't interested, but I really enjoyed it when it came out. And I'm enjoying this one. I think it's, it's really, it's enjoyable to sit down and watch. I don't know how much scrutiny it'll hold up to long term, but it's enjoyable as a sit down and watch. And that's not nothing.
I mean, I don't think I'll go quite as far. And I think that once you begin sitting back and scrutinizing it, it starts falling apart pretty fast.
That's fair.
I think the challenge for this show is to make Riri Williams a likable character. And I feel like they might be moving her the right direction by the end of episode 3. But the truth is she's selfish, greedy, she's a thief. Right now, there's not, like, if we're gonna throw this person in as one of our Marvel heroes, she's got a long ways to go.
Well, and I think she is kind of like
But she wasn't like this isn't our, we're getting her origin, a sort of an origin. It's an origin of her coming into her own as a hero. We've met her in Wakanda Forever, and she is the most throwaway part of that entire movie.
Yeah.
She's really shoehorned in there. Now, I know things happened with that movie. I don't envy anyone having to do what they did and rewrite last minute because your main character, your actor playing your main character passes
your
away.
Iconic, beloved. It's not just like, oh, and he was the lead. He was like an icon.
Like, it would be hard to find anybody that didn't like Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah.
And so in that case, I don't envy anyone having to make the changes they made to that movie. But Riri Williams does not work in that movie.
No,
she's unlikable. The character doesn't even need to be there to tell the story. She's just very shoehorned in there because they wanted to do this TV show,
right?
And the character is not likable in that. And the first thing we see her doing here, and now what I will say, and Ryan Coogler's not writing this, he is directly involved in this show, though. The message of the first 2 Black Panther movies, okay, so there's something about the way he tells stories where you get there's something about the way he presents the villain side of things where people latch onto it, and I don't like that. In the first Black Panther, it was Killmonger's message that everybody, lots of people said this is the theme of the movie, and it's like, he's the villain. That's not the theme of the movie.
Honestly, though, I think that's, I don't know if it's just Ryan Coogler's fault. I think in some ways that's kind of just, I mean, people did the same thing with Kylo Ren.
That's true. That's true. And so maybe it speaks more to us as a society and a culture than anything that we're willing to latch on to clearly a villainous message.
Yeah, I mean, Kylo Ren wasn't ever intended to be anything but the villain. Like, he do you think we had some issues? He was complicated. There were some reasons that he was the way he was, but I think that as a culture,
have we been so programmed to look at all villains as sympathetic that we see it even when it's not there? Like, at least some people do, because they've really pushed the last like 2 decades at least. Every villain has to have a sympathetic backstory, which I don't love. It's fine occasionally. Even Lucas sort of brought Vader back around and gave Anakin sort of a sympathetic backstory, but he did not do that with Palpatine. But you have people calling for Palpatine to get some sort of sympathetic backstory, and then you get crap like The Acolyte, where they try to not even do the sympathetic. We've devolved from sympathetic backstory to trying to say, well, they're not really bad. There's no such thing like good, bad,
murdering people.
Yeah. But maybe like we've gotten so accustomed to sympathetic villain that we look for it even when it's not there. I don't know. But in this movie, we get some lines from the villains about, no successful person ever got where they were without doing some shady stuff. And well, we have a whole universe full of heroes that got to where they are without doing some shady stuff.
I mean, yes, but I mean, even Tony Stark, like,
Tony's not a good example.
No, but he's kind of I think he's the one they're mostly talking about.
But what did Tony do? Tony was a weapons manufacturer, a business he inherited, that he shut down.
But I think that
But that's to say that weapons manufacturing is a shady process, but there's nothing shady about weapons manufacturing
per
in
se,
its own right. And it's Obadiah Stane that does all the shady stuff with the Stark business.
speaking of,
That's the best part of this show.
oh my gosh, yes,
A twist I did not expect was the son of Obadiah Stane, Ezekiel Stane. And not just that, I really like Alden Ehrenreich as an actor.
yes.
I think that he's kind of gotten.
He's so weird.
He is. He does weird
He
really
does
well.
weird really well. No, I mean, I thought he did a great job as Han Solo doing the cool
I
swab
did too.
thing.
I did too. I feel like he picked up a lot of the mannerism. I understand why people. I think it was going to be a problem. I still of the mind that they should have not ever recast anyone in Star Wars, or they should have bit the bullet from day one, said, here's your new Luke, here's your new Han, here's your new Leia, and this is what we're doing. Just bite the bullet and do it. I think if they had done that, then maybe it would have worked out. But I think where we kind of went, well, we're not going to recast, and we're not going to give you these stories that you already kind of know in the expanded universe. They didn't have to throw out the entirety of the expanded universe to tell stories from the expanded universe. And they still bring in little bits and pieces, but
all that to say,
they should have
he
either
was so
gone all in or not. But yes, that's a huge reveal.
Yeah.
Now he's a little unhinged. Like once he starts, like it's like he's like kept himself very sheltered out of fear of becoming his father.
Mm-hmm.
And then like
thanks for teaching me to stand up for myself.
Right, as soon as the shackles are removed, he ain't quite right.
No, he definitely ain't quite right. But
he keeps his dad's ashes just in his kitchen. What do you mean he's not quite right? That's what I was about to say.
Well, I mean, people keeping
we
the
were
ashes
close.
of a parent or a
In
grandparent
a Ziploc bag in your kitchen.
Well, right. That's not having the ashes is not the weird or abnormal part. Like that's completely normal. But
we
the fact
were
that
close.
In a Ziploc bag
in
like a cookie tin or something, and
vacuums them up and throws them back in the bag.
Yeah. No, I do like that. I want to see where they're going with that. So so I've said this a lot of times on this channel. So before I start ripping this show apart for some of the things that are really, the more I contemplate, the worse I think they are.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a story first person. Mm-hmm. I say this all the time. You can do a lot of things wrong. And if you tell me a good story, I'm still going to be somewhat invested. Mm-hmm. I think the story is pretty good. Mm-hmm. I think that, and I think it's I don't, when I say well acted, I want to be careful what I say because it's not the whole cast. A lot of the cast is really abysmal. What's her name that plays Riri? Thorne. Last name's Thorne.
I don't know.
Can't think of her name. She's doing a really solid job at presenting the character she's been given.
Yeah, Natalie's great.
Natalie's great. The concept's not. The AI, it's the idea of the AI itself that doesn't seem to function as an AI. Doesn't really work. But I think the actress is doing a fine job. Alden Ehrenreich doing a fine job. So I think your main actors.
The mom.
Yeah, I wasn't sure I was going to like the mom, but the mom kind of got better as we went.
Poor mom.
And then the guy playing the main villain, playing the Hood, is a stellar actor.
And the his sidekick is phenomenal.
Yeah. So
he was great.
Right.
Although I have to say, I think that to go back to what you were saying about the villains, I think that the villains in this show, like you buy that they are villains. Like, I mean, what do you think? Do you feel like they're kind of presenting them more sympathetically, or do you think?
No.
I think they're presenting them as villains pretty well. honestly.
No, I agree with that. I think they're presented well as villains, but they're Hood and John were both characters that work.
Mhm.
The rest of the crew, I don't buy the hacker. The only one they had, the only one of the just the crew that I thought like worked in the show was Rampage. Um, we killed Rampage, we killed John. That was two of the better characters we had going here.
Mhm.
Um, but like the blood siblings or whatever they are, we're supposed to buy them as like super tough. Like I don't buy it. I don't buy the hacker. Um,
Is it Riri the hacker?
Riri is not the hacker.
Riri's
Isn't
the
it Hacker
tech.
The drag
Rampage?
queen is the hacker.
Okay.
I don't like that person can't act.
Yeah, they're fairly
Like
one
we
note.
put that actor in this show to check a box. I'm sorry, that's what we did. She can't act. He can't act. I don't.
They. I think it's they.
Whatever.
They can't act.
But the crew is very disposable.
Yeah. Yeah. The blood. I most of the crew I feel the same way. Like, the pyromaniac.
Clown.
Yeah, like she's just a little interesting. I feel like she could, but
But they're stupid. The whole crew is so stupid. Now Rampage is dead, so like Iana and I discussed that we would have really liked to have seen Rampage, doing something with Luis's crew from Ant-Man,
oh,
but can't happen
It
now.
would have fit so well. It would have been really funny. I mean, there's already a hacker on that. Or what was his job? I forgot what Rampage.
He was. I mean, so they have a hacker and then they have a tech person.
Okay, yeah, he would have.
He was the tech person. So your tech person might do some hacking, but it's not all they do.
yeah.
But they have like a dedicated hacker.
So I think that's an
Slug.
interesting because like
Slug.
the crew from Ant-Man, they weren't around just a whole lot, but they had really good chemistry. Like they were an interesting dynamic.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like that they didn't quite nail that as well.
Yeah.
With this one.
Like
I agree. The blood siblings as the hitters are real boring.
Yeah.
Like, come on. I want to see Christian Kane come and kick some people's
Plus,
butts.
it's like, I mean, but it ain't. This is the MCU. Like our hitters. I mean, we could have gone with some with enhanced individuals at this point as our hitters. Like, and I understand some of the. I don't know who's from a comic and who's not here. To be frank, I just don't know. But the thing about the Ironheart character, this is a character that was wholly rejected as a comic book character. And then we decided to do her in live action, which is fine. But like, ditch the story that didn't work. Like, sometimes it's okay to ditch the source material.
I feel like there's a character arc that's kind of happening with Riri, though.
I do too, but I need to see. I don't just need to see her like, oh, now she's a hero. Like, I need a repentance arc. Like, I need some some recognition that these things. Now we've gotten hints that I think that's where we're going.
I mean, I feel
there are people in her life calling her out on her crap.
Like Natalie.
Well, the teacher or the dean of the school at MIT or whatever she is, Riri gives the sob story and she goes, that's a bunch of crap. And then even the little kid, when she first crash lands, the one that helps her with the wagon, is like, that's the lamest thing I've ever seen. Still don't understand why the kid's like, I could help you with this wagon, and they put some of the stuff in the wagon, but she's still wearing like half of it, and maybe it's that it doesn't come off because it's powered down. I don't know. But
like some of it was falling off, so presumably that's the stuff that's going in the wagon.
They should have given an explanation at least.
One of the characters, there's a couple of characters that are just kind of like they occur, and then I don't know who that was. The guy that is at her mother's house. that kind of calls her out, like, what are
Natalie's
you,
brother.
is it Natalie's brother that's
Yeah.
kind of like, what are you into?
Mm-hmm.
And then even Natalie starts to call her out on
Mhm.
things. The interesting thing, here's what I find interesting about Natalie. Natalie is not Natalie. Natalie is her inner monologue of Natalie.
Right.
It's Riri's inner monologue of what Natalie would tell her.
Mm-hmm. So it's herself.
Yeah. So it's her, and Natalie is sort of her conscience,
Mhm.
literally.
Mm-hmm.
And Natalie is not Natalie's memories, it's her memories of Natalie forming this.
Right.
So, despite the fact that it doesn't function as an AI, because it's not, and this is where I'm like, I don't know if this really works, because I do want my science to say somewhat consistent. It's not behaving like an AI.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little too free thinking.
But they have made it clear that this, like, brain scan created AI is a different animal than any
Well, they
other.
have, but they also kind of indicated that the brain scan AI should have just scrambled Riri's brain.
I think we're going to find out that she's got something else going on.
I don't even think they got room for that, but maybe. But I also like,
Speaking of something else going on, when are we getting another season of Miss Marvel?
we're not, but they're talking about another
What?
movie. They are talking about another movie.
She's so cute.
I don't know. I think that you're going to see.
Can she just be the new Captain Marvel? I
See,
like
that
her
would be
better than
ideal.
Brie Larson.
I mean, here's the thing. Like, we could literally bring in anyone, like Yvonne Strahovski as Captain Marvel, anyone. Like, we're still in the multiverse saga, so like, give us Marvel. David was talking about this last night.
Mm-hmm.
David was talking about this on Twitter last night. Was, if they had truly given us Marvel
Mm-hmm.
first,
Right.
give us Marvel, give us, Miss Marvel, not current Miss Marvel, like, um, what Brie Larson's character should have started as.
Mm-hmm.
Give us Marvel, and like, then you would have had a character in place that could have picked up the reins when you lose Cap and Iron Man and these others. That character probably could have been the one that carried the MCU forward. But they opted not to do that. Now, I've derailed my thought process, but
Sorry.
yeah.
Okay.
AI.
Yes,
for
I
Riri.
think there might be something else going on. Speaking of something else, back up. Yeah, AI. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, no, but you were talking about how it should have scrambled her brain, and
Yeah, but I was going somewhere else beyond that, and I don't remember what it was. That dog is going to tear my house apart.
it's a dog. Okay, I was like, what is that child doing in the next room?
No, it's a dog under the house.
The AI having panic attacks is kind of interesting.
Well, see, that's the whole thing. The AI having the panic attack, and it doesn't really have a panic attack as much as it just quits working. It ceases to function. It locks up. It's like a bug in the system that makes the system freeze. And then we see her, and then it's because Riri has trauma involving a gun, the AI can't, it has no idea how to function in that moment.
Yeah, I mean, when she's having a panic attack, when they're in the garage, when Riri's having a panic attack, and then Natalie goes, "Okay, you were having a panic attack," and so I guess it's just linked to whatever Riri's feeling.
Well, yeah. Well, it's not even linked. It's literally it's Riri's memories. So Riri has a undealt with trauma, and
that she ain't even kind of like pretended to deal with.
Oh, I know where I was going. So, kind of backing up, and I don't want to go too much longer here because I really only want to do about half an hour on this show, but we're trying to cover it before the new episode tonight. But does it bother anyone else that when, first of all, we have a thing in this country where a lot of people are in college that don't necessarily need to be there. Why is Riri in college? Other than the fact she has the Stark Fellowship. But when that Stark Fellowship ends, why is Riri not just calling the Wakandans, or like,
That's a good.
Like
question.
Riri's like, well, now I have no way forward with my stuff. It's like, what? It's like, call Shuri, go back to Wakanda, work on your, like, what are we doing here? Like,
Mhm.
we glossed over the fact that she has other connections.
Yeah.
Just not to mention, she's at this point, she's only at MIT because she's got grant money there. But like, we're talking like someone that we're supposed to buy as this world class intellect. You know how much the tech companies in this MCU universe would care about her finishing a degree? Not one bit.
Right.
Like this idea that, oh, my fellowship is up, my grants money's gone, so now I have nothing.
Yeah. I feel like that's a little bit of a plot
Like why are
hole.
we not like calling like actually I have a problem I have this particular problem with a lot of characters in the MC. Why are we not just calling Pepper Potts?
Yeah.
Saying, hey Pepper, I got a problem and you can solve it.
Yup.
Like we're gonna pretend this character doesn't exist anymore? Like all
And
these
maybe
characters
Gwyneth
that are
Paltrow
like,
just got to be too expensive.
well, like Hawkeye running around New York City with no money, no resources. And don't get me wrong, that Hawkeye series I still say is the best, far and away best MCU series.
Okay.
It's the best TV series.
Okay.
Which one would you put over it? WandaVision?
WandaVision's great. Loki's also great.
Loki season 2 was great. Loki season 1 was okay.
Right.
I'm not saying that like those aren't great shows. I just think so. Loki feels like a TV series that got chopped. I mean, a movie that got chopped up into episodes. Several of the series feel like movies that got chopped up. Hawkeye is the only one that follows an actual television formula.
I still think WandaVision's better, but that's fine. You can feel differently. WandaVision, then Hawkeye, then Loki. Okay.
See, there were things about I liked everything about the Hawkeye series. There were things about the WandaVision that didn't, series.
What about
that I
you?
didn't like.
What's your ranking?
Well, probably Hawkeye, Miss Marvel, and then maybe WandaVision. I really liked WandaVision.
Which one did you put at the top?
Probably Hawkeye. That's the only one I've watched twice, so I'm kind of biased towards that one in that sense.
I feel like
Miss Marvel was great too.
Miss Marvel is fantastic. Here's the thing: Iman Vellani just kind of carries whatever they put her in, and if they don't, I'm just telling you, when it gets time for this for this next Avengers film, if they don't lean heavily on Chris Pratt, Haley Steinfeld, Iman Vellani, if they don't lean heavily on those people, those are your people with charisma in the MCU right now. Like, those are your people.
Iman Vellani can make anything work. She's just so good.
Yeah.
She's so perfect, and she's just, I think that she's going to prove to be a really talented actor just in general, but specifically as this character, she's just.
Yeah. Now, like I said, this current show, this Ironheart show, like there are things that I'm just that are difficult to buy. I don't like the Hood's costume. I think it looks like
Dracula.
No, I think it looks like it came off a Halloween costume store shelf.
A Halloween costume of Dracula.
Maybe Dracula. It doesn't. A Dracula cape would look better. It looks like a cheap rain poncho.
I mean, when he has the cape plus like the fancy shirt he has on the first episode, it looks kind of like Dracula. I'm just saying. I think they could have done better with that costume. I will say one thing that I really do like. This show made it really clear to me how much I miss the heavy feeling metal mechanical armor.
Mm-hmm.
The last couple of times around with Iron Man, we were nanotech.
Yeah.
and it's fine. It's a little cartoony sometimes.
Yeah.
But this was the problem. I don't know if you ever watched Pacific Rim, at least the second one. The second Pacific Rim. The first one, everything feels heavy and mechanical, and the world feels like it has real weight to it. I mean, these giant machines,
These mechs.
these giant mechs feel like they have the weight to them. In the second one, it's all CGI, and nothing feels heavy.
Yeah.
Everything feels too light. And I feel like that's kind of what the nanotech took from us was that armor. So hopefully when we get Armor Wars, if that's actually still being made, we get some heavy duty tech like this.
Forgot about that.
Is that still like a thing?
Yeah. In fact, I think I heard that it went from being a TV series to a movie.
Okay.
Which means that somebody's got some faith in whatever they're doing with it. So real quick, I know there was something else I wanted to say. So overall, I'm going to say this show right now, I'm going to put towards the bottom, but I don't really give rankings till I've seen it all. But it's kind of, and I'm going to say this has been a real curse with things, but I'm going to say it anyway. It depends on the finale in a big way. It depends on how
it ends.
The third act is going to be what determines how I feel about this. I can already tell you that. I can ignore some of the things I don't like if you give me a really good third act.
Yeah. And I do feel like this one is building towards
towards a third act, but let's see what that third act is. Like, you know, we had a couple other things, you know, one I already mentioned in Secret Invasion, where I was like, maybe they can save it with a third act. And then the third act was worse than the whole rest of the show. It
was bad.
Like the third act was literally the worst part.
And they killed Mariah Hill in the first episode, so that's hard to top in badness.
Yeah. So
I think it has potential, personally.
So this is the question I want to ask so we can, as we wrap up discussing Ironheart. What has to happen in the last 3 episodes for this show to work for you?
You want to start?
Sure. Well, they gotta make Riri. I started to kind of like her as a character, but they gotta make her with a bit more heroic intentions, I suppose. I guess they gotta explain Natalie in a satisfying way.
Explain.
Just make sense and help. I guess get Riri to process her trauma and understand exactly what's going on with Natalie and her being part of her brain or whatever.
Okay.
And then I don't know. They got to do something cool with the villains. I don't really have a lot of. I don't really know what exactly I want them to do with it, to be real.
Do you remember the days whenever we would say, I don't know what they're going to do with it, but I have faith that it's going to be great.
I mean,
you just believed that it was going to be great. Weren't those the days? Those were the days.
This is where I say that, we used to be that way with, if a Star Wars was coming out, we just assumed it was going to be,
great.
Going to be great. If a Marvel, for years we assumed if a Marvel movie was coming out, it was going to be great.
I remember Daniel and his pessimistic self say if they made a Squirrel Girl movie, he'd think it was going to be great.
Yeah. Well, there was a point where Marvel was literally just printing money. That they could do no wrong. And unfortunately for Marvel, and I've said this here on the show over the last few weeks, last couple of times I got on here, Disney has burned up all of the goodwill with the fans. All. And Star Wars has probably burned more of it than anyone, and Star Wars has burned a lot of Marvel's goodwill.
Yeah, I think so.
The Star Wars
there's a lot of overlap.
The Star Wars goodwill that's been burned has just really burned everybody with Disney products. I think while the MCU has certainly had a few stinkers, I don't think they've had anything on par with the debacle that was The Last Jedi. And look, if you're watching this and you love The Last Jedi, I'm actually not talking about even whether it was good or bad. Okay, so I don't like it. If you like it, that's fine. But what I think is undeniable about The Last Jedi is, regardless of how you feel about that movie, it absolutely turned the fandom upside down and shook it.
On
It
purpose.
on purpose. On purpose. You took the biggest IP on the planet and you turned it upside down and you just shook it to bits.
Yeah. So as far as the next 3 episodes, I think we need to see, I agree with Iana. I think we need to see Riri process some of her trauma. Like, she's clearly just trying to box it up and not deal with it. And we've seen, WandaVision was basically what happens whenever you don't deal with your trauma. And so I think we need to see, she has a good support structure. She needs to lean into it. And she also needs to lose this kind of attitude that she has, this sort of, that she started out with, like, everybody's out to get her.
Right.
Because nobody's out to get her. She just keeps making bad decisions.
Right.
And so I think we really just need to see her grow up a little bit.
Yeah.
We need to see her take some responsibility
I
for her
think that's
actions.
the big thing.
And we need to see her really, instead of being like, well, you got to do shady stuff to get stuff done, and that's kind of been how she's justifying. I think she needs to acknowledge that she's been justifying her actions.
Well, I do like at this point that she hasn't been, the villain said that line.
Yeah.
Which, holding true to what Ryan Coogler has done, I think that she eventually will push back against that sentiment. That's Killmonger in the first Black Panther, gives his line that everybody latched on to, but it's not the theme of the movie. The theme of the movie ends up being T'Challa's speech at the end of the movie, which is, that we have to work together.
Right.
One tribe. That's the point of the movie, not Killmonger's line. And the second one kind of did some similar stuff with Shuri having to go through a similar arc where she confronts basically Killmonger in the afterlife, and has to eventually, and she embraces it momentarily, and goes on a rampage to try to kill Namor. But I think for this show to work for me, I agree with everything y'all said. The character's got to grow up. If we want to bring her into our pantheon of heroes, she's got to grow up and she's got to learn to work with other people. Right now, I don't see her as a character that could work as part of a team.
Yeah.
Not a real team. She barely functions as part of this. This team she's on now doesn't function as a team.
Right.
They're all in it for themselves.
But she's got to actually take a moral stance on something.
Yes. I need her to have a moment where she shrugs off these ideas that she's been chasing so far. This greed. But I still say a lot of the problem is just, I still say there's to some degree, you're just having her have no money just so she goes through this arc when that arc just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But she could go work for Stark Tech. She could go work for any of these other number of companies that we know exist. I mean, heck, she's a crook. She could go work for, what's his name? What was Stark's competitor? Hammer.
Justin Hammer.
She could go work for Justin Hammer.
Is he in jail?
Who knows where Justin Hammer is? I don't know. He may be in jail.
I don't remember any of the Iron Man movies.
I don't remember where Justin Hammer is, but that is to say, like,
there's options.
There are options for someone that intelligent. If we're gonna say she's this intelligent, then she's not just gonna have to like go it alone.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm at. I think the show is kind of riddled with some problems. Some of them maybe nitpicks on my part. Some of them are story issues. Some of them are kind of foundational story issues of where it calls into question motivation.
Right.
Hey there, sci-fi fans. We hope you enjoyed this clip from a previous live stream of the Science Fictionary podcast. We hope you'll go check out other episodes. We hope you'll hit that like and that subscribe button. And please go check out all of our friends over at the Red 5 Network. And as always, may the Force be with you.